So guys, we're just going to meet Farah London. Just pulling up in a black taxi, which is great. Get the cab, there we go. Pride of the fleet, London black cabs, there we go. That's Farah in the yellow, and I'm Jodie. So we're just going to wait for her to come in. We're going to meet and greet and do some questions and answers. So exciting times.
Hi. Nice to meet you, Christina.
Christina, this is Elaine. This is Emma. This is Kira. This is Rebecca. This is Janet. She's one of the local residents. This team here, and this is David filming.
Hello, David.
This is our sort of the crux of my independent campaign in Islington. And you are Farah London?
I am, and it's so great to see that you're standing to be the independent voice. And I always say, going all over the boroughs in London, the problem that I'm seeing is there's not any independent voices within the councils. And residents are being bullied by the existing political party councillors, and we need to put a stop to that. And the only way we can put a stop to that is by actually standing up and doing what you're doing.
And doing what you're doing as well.
Absolutely, it's fundamental.
I think we think London needs a change, and this is why the ladies that are on my team, because it's a very female-orientated group behind me, hence the pinks and all of that. You know, it's staunch, and I think that London does need a change. And we've had 8 years of Ken, we've had 8 years of Boris, we've had 5 years of Calm. So why not 3 years of London?
And the first woman mayor of London.
Yes,
exactly.
3 years of London.
We need a woman mayor, number one.
We do.
I think, if anything, I think you'll probably all agree, London is a very special place. And it should never be governed by a political party. Because as we can see, we've got a Conservative government, we've got a Labour mayor, all they do is argue with each other, throw stones at each other. Nothing gets done, we all get forget. And then if you bring a candidate that actually is the same party, he'll be dictated to by number 10. He will not do anything in favour of the people.
Toeing the line.
Exactly. We need an independent, represents the people, doesn't have any party politics, is actually there to serve the people.
We've had this in Islington where they've not had an effective opposition, and they basically rode roughshod over a vast swathe of Islington residents, stemming from the nucleus of this is the LTNs that they've created across London, but especially in Islington. That was the nucleus of this, and it was the acorn from which my campaign has started from, and a lot of other. We've also got another person, Martin Perkins, standing as independent. We've got Noel Crowley standing as independent in Hackney. So it's been the crux of it, and I think that there is a chance for change politics, where if we get in, we could be the start of the domino effect that in a year's time.
And I like to say when you get in, not if.
It's when.
Definitely. It's going to happen.
Hopefully.
So definitely.
By the grace of God.
Exactly. Everything goes by God, but it is going to happen.
I also think that we need I want it to be a catalyst of a domino effect. Because I've only got, if I'm successful and I get a year in power in the town hall, if I get a year in, then it gives other people an opportunity to think, hang on, I can do that. So we get more people standing in the main elections in 2022. And hopefully we have a domino effect. And hopefully it trickles all the way to City Hall.
Well, what's been happening, I've been going to every borough. I've been taking time to talk to residents. Yes, of course, these LTNs, it's a disgrace. Not only has it divided communities, it's causing emergency services, it's problems for disabled, the elderly. All I see is problems with LTNs, and I'm even finding cyclists that are against them as well. Because they're saying they don't even want to cycle on the main roads anymore because there's too much pollution and they don't feel safe. So it's actually not, it's producing more pollution, so it's not doing what it's meant to be doing. People are spending more time in their car, which is not what the objective was. So definitely that's one of the major issues. But another problem is talking to residents from across London. They really are fed up of party politics. They're fed up of the reds and the blues. I've heard stories of Labour councillors and members bullying, intimidating, threatening, standing outside people's houses to the point that they're living in fear. And I've asked Keir Starmer, are you running a political party or are you running a gang? Because this sounds...
It's a cabal, it's what they're running.
Exactly,
that's what it is.
Exactly.
Cabal.
And we have the power actually. And I encourage people to really embrace that. You have the power because you have the vote. Our votes put them in power and our votes can take them out of power. So I really encourage everyone, use your vote. Send a message across London to the political parties. we will not take it anymore. We have had enough.
Absolutely.
Lovely. Do you want to answer some questions in mask or without mask, if I've got
I'll
some?
do it with,
Yeah.
because obviously we've been given standards which we're allowed to campaign with.
Can we see your face? Without, so we know what you look like. So we know, like, hey! That's nice, right, there we go.
Absolutely.
So you're being ordered to be masked up then, kind of thing?
It's
isn't it?
just advised.
Fine.
It's just advised, obviously, because I am
You've got
going to
anything
so
to
many
go
boroughs.
against,
Yeah.
I'm meeting so many people on a daily basis, so it's just for your safety, if anything.
So I'm going to just, so you don't mind, so we've got some questions. So Janice, I think you've got questions. So Janice is a
I
local
love
resident.
questions. I love questions.
And she actually knows that she's thinking of voting for you, so it might be an easy
Yeah,
one.
because I did see your name come up somewhere and it was, saying about what you do and everything.
Thank
so,
you,
yeah, I will vote for you.
Well, let me hear your question. What's your concern?
Well, mainly it's about the LTNs. It's an absolute disgrace because we can't get anywhere, basically.
I know, we're trapped.
Yeah.
In our cells.
Cells, yeah.
They are
It's
cells.
true.
Yeah.
It's what they've done is I like to call it a social divide, because it has divided communities.
Yeah.
And they've created private roads and gated communities for some, whereas for the others they're actually not seeing advantages. Even some that within the gated communities are suffering. In Greenwich, for example, one individual told me that their parents who've lived in Greenwich for over 50 years, because they're so, they're elderly, they've had to now sell house and move because they're inside an LTN and he needs access and the ambulance can't even get to him. So they've had to move. And this is stories being echoed in Waltham Forest, for example. Carers. Now we know vulnerable people depend on carers. Now what's happening there is carers are stuck in traffic now most of the day. So they are actually now spending less time with the vulnerable patients because they're going to get in traffic. What took a 5-10 minute journey is taking up to 15 minutes. So less people are getting care. So yes, absolutely, Janice, I'm against them. I will have them removed because they are unlawful. They're not acceptable. No other candidate is committing that. They're saying it'll be reviewed, we'll discuss it. It's a scandal.
Yeah,
they need to be removed.
Do you have the power to remove them?
So the City Hall is funding them.
Yes.
So we can completely take away that money. And I am prepared to take any council to court whether residents are standing up against them, because I've been across so many boroughs again and they've produced petitions to the councils which are being ignored.
Yep.
They are not listening.
Do you feel it's, no matter what part of London you go to, is it exactly the same?
Identical.
Is it carbon copy?
Carbon
of
copy.
The council's
Barnet,
not listening.
Ealing, all of them.
The council's not listening, the roads being closed, the traffic being displaced, and then they say, the traffic isn't displaced. Well, we're in a perfect example, Farah, because this area is a very old existing LTN. It was a very old one.
25 years.
25 years, I think.
25 years, they shut off New North Road. Okay? Hardly any traffic. Closing the road that used to take you from Essex Road down to New North Road, at the Prebend Street junction there, has now forced traffic through a social housing estate. Through there
Direct.
to come
Yes,
through.
right, we'll show you.
Social divide.
So after
show
we
you.
will show you this, and we can see it, and now this area,
85% increase.
and now this area has seen a traffic increase, and instead of the council thinking, maybe we should reopen the road that was perfectly well in the first place, they're looking now to close off a section so that the people who now live here will no longer have access to New North Road, apart from going for a long, convoluted journey around.
Along Essex Road, which we call now a HTN. It's a high traffic
HTN, high
neighbourhood.
traffic neighbourhood.
So all the surrounding main boundary roads are high traffic neighbourhoods. And they are residential roads. They are not just, for cars. As we all know these days, there's probably more people living on those main roads than there are in these LTNs.
What they need to accept is we're not Amsterdam. We cannot jump on a cycle
like
and walk
that, yeah.
everywhere. We're not. It's a fact. London is London. London is cosmopolitan. We have 9.3 million people living here. People do need access to their roads. If we want to encourage people going green, have access to green technology. Have electric cars affordable. Have electric cars that actually have batteries with warranties over 3.5 years. People will then, of course, go electric, but we're not doing that
Just
right
on a
now.
question regarding the electric. So we got a question from one of our people in our group, Mark Roberts, was asking that you're stating about electric cars, but what about the infrastructure behind electric vehicles? It's all well and good, we all have electric vehicles. I have a hybrid vehicle, but where are we going to charge?
Exactly. In my manifesto, I've clearly said we need to put the infrastructure across Greater London. because there's not enough charging points. So again, you want people to go electric, you want, cleaner air, put the infrastructure there, make it affordable. People will naturally change because it saves money on petrol.
Islington Council took out, I think,
Yes.
17 charging points on Liverpool
Liverpool
Road
Road
to
for
put
a
in.
cycle lane.
Yep.
Exactly.
Which was not asked for.
It's not used,
and,
no,
not
it's full
being
of
used.
and
leaves.
it's a dangerous.
not being
It's a danger, the cars open out onto the...
Well, even Tooting High Street, for example, let's talk about the businesses now. Tooting High Street depends on that traffic. It depends on people, who come from the surrounding boroughs, park their cars, pop in, pop out. They've put cycle lanes on both sides, so trade has gone by up to 50% for these businesses. They are crying, and no one is listening.
We have areas.
Exactly, and the same. It's being echoed in every single borough across London, residents and businesses.
Do you think the travesty is that one of the world's greatest cities, which I've been born and bred in this city, and I love my city, that it's being, sent to, being taken back in time to sort of a lower league status of a capital city because we're not supporting businesses trying to come out of recession, people trying to earn a pound note, simply just trying to earn a living to go about in their day-to-day business, but yet finding it's taking them longer. Some people are even saying, you know what, I'm not even going to go and do a job in that area because it's too much of a headache to get to that job, I'll pass it. And yet we're told unless it's a bike or a cargo bike, that's the only way forward, what are your views on that?
We're not Amsterdam. It's just not going to work. We have to be realistic. There are incentives of making ways greener and cleaner. For example, I don't know if you've heard of microalgae installations. Don't know what many people have. I've taken the time for my manifesto to go to the experts. I've gone to Cambridge and Oxford University, spoken to the professors. What can we do to make cleaner and greener air? And I was amazed to find out there's technology that exists called microalgae. It's used currently in Singapore, Germany, and Mexico, and some other cities around the world. And I don't know if you've seen those tall buildings with looks like green growing outside.
The green wall, a living wall.
So that's actually microalgae. Now what happens? After planting it, within days, not years, when you plant a tree it takes years obviously to start helping the environment. Within days of planting it, it will immediately start taking all the carbon dioxide, the toxins and metals from the air, convert it to oxygen. And the more pollution, the more it will flourish.
So why is this?
Exactly.
Why are you just telling us this?
Exactly.
We've seen it. We've all seen
I have
buildings.
a friend who works for a
Our
company that does
leaders
this.
are too self-absorbed with themselves to actually go out and find solutions.
And it's probably some money-making schemes behind it.
Think how much.
Not the amount.
No, but exactly. I've spoken to property developers. They're ready. They're saying, let's do this.
Yeah.
So if our leaders weren't so self-absorbed with themselves and their politics, we would be seeing these changes, and we should be a leading city, and that's why and that's why I'm bringing Tech London, because we should be the largest tech city in the world, ahead of this technology, especially with the electric cars.
London's dying.
We're dying, and we
London's
need
dying.
a lifeline, but we're not going to get it with politicians. We've seen they only.
Well, we're going to get it with
serve
independence.
themselves. Absolutely.
That's what we're going to get it with.
I'll
ask you a
Independent,
couple of
normal
things.
people.
Congestion charge.
Yes.
Will you reduce it back to the former hours?
What I'm going to do is, yes, Monday to Friday, £12 from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. However, I'm also introducing a short stay tariff, so people will not be penalised for being popped in and out with a full day rate.
Can I just ask
It
about
doesn't
Just
work
ask
for
about.
business.
Can I just also ask you road pricing? What's your opinion on the road pricing? Is that something that
Because
you
ultimately
look
we feel
towards
like this is where the
in the future?
LTNs
This is
is
what we feel
going.
like is happening.
Are you talking about your tickets?
No, as in all
Congestion
vehicles being
So-
pushed out onto main roads, less cameras, so therefore
Yeah.
we
So
will have road
we're
pricing.
seeing the
I
start
don't
of
agree
this.
with these exceptions.
Right, okay.
Absolutely, and the ULEZ as well.
Fine. cool.
And just asking about the time, you said 7 till 10 p.m. How will
No,
that?
7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Right. So you're well, it used to be 6:30 because it gives
I know.
time for the West End people going to the West End,
Yeah,
which we all
I've-
know
I've put-
is on its knees. The
I
West
know.
End.
I've put
It's on its knees.
it to that. So we also have a short stay tariff. So people who come, because we have a lot of people who just pop in and out. They need to pick up someone and pop back out. Or for example, deliveries as well.
Quite nice to see it.
Yeah, it's actually.
Who doesn't get happy?
We'll have an
with
ice cream afterwards. I've got a question from another one of our group members. I'll wait till that couple of arches starts. Okay, so what are you going to do for women's refugees and people who are experiencing domestic violence, which has increased during lockdown, what are you going to do? Because we've got evidence that women's refuges being closed, etc. What can you do to help these women in these all these awful circumstances?
Jodie, thank you for asking. And again, it's on my manifesto. I'm very pleased to announce I'm opening women's centres in 33 boroughs across London. The women's centres will be there to empower women. We'll be providing courses, training, well-being. So we'll have, like, whether it's yoga, spiritual classes, but also have gym, childcare, and co-working space. But the best part is I really, really want to empower women. So what I'm planning to do is introducing business grants for women of all ages, because I want to see women as entrepreneurs. Whether you're a single mother, whether you're young, whatever your age is, you have an idea, let's support you, let's rise up women, because you know what, women make the community function. So we actually need to invest in our women, and like, it's a safe space. Again, women, absolutely, it's a safe space for women to go and just connect, and it needs to be in every borough.
And what about would you help support the councils in reaching out to people who are currently under lockdown but maybe experiencing domestic violence at home, hidden behind closed doors that no one sees?
That's why I want these women's centres, because I actually I also myself help women who are in domestic violence situations, especially during COVID, and I've seen what they've gone through. So this is why I've really thought carefully what would help them. For example, we saw during lockdown, women were encouraged to go to Boots and give a safe word, and they could go to a private room. But imagine having a women's centre that doesn't get closed during a lockdown, but it's a safe space for a woman. She can just go there, but also she can go engage with others.
What would the hours be? Would it be would it be at key points, like, because there's evidence that during football games, things like that, at weekends, long bank holiday weekends.
From early till late in the evening. I really want it to be a functional space for women.
And if it was out of hours, a way for women to be able to be referred to it from hospital A&Es, etc.
They would always be.
Self-referral.
I would say there'd always be security on site. So if a woman needs to go there, she has access.
There's access.
Because
okay.
we will have staff there as well.
Good.
So there will be emergency number. We need women to be able to go somewhere, because frankly right now they have nowhere to go to.
Excellent.
Farah,
I live in an LTN now. I don't support them. I'm a cyclist. I don't support them. I feel, and as a parent of teenage children, we're affected by crime, youth crime. Kira goes to school and she only knows 2 people that have their life, and it's just the norm. How do you propose to reduce knife youth crime?
Absolutely. So I actually mentor youth a lot, and I work with knife crime charities as well. Now, what we really need to see is I speak to gang members. Why are you in this? Why are you doing this crime? What's going on? And the truth is, well, there's nothing I can do. I wanted to be a footballer. I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be a doctor, but society doesn't let me do that because I can't afford it. So I'm getting groomed by a gang, and that's what's going on. So I'm also opening, and they're not youth centres, they're called youth academies. These youth academies are going to be free from ages 8 to 21.
Brilliant.
They're going to have music, dance, acting, theatre, creative studios, filmmaking, and then also sporting academies. Absolutely. Because I say at the end of the day, I want to see our youth become all-stars, representing our country around the world. And why should we spend millions on foreign football players when we can make it homegrown?
Yes,
exactly.
We like that
Make it homegrown. And then also, very important about these youth academies, we will have free access to recording studios, green making, film equipment. So we're really providing them the access to live out their dreams.
And I think it's key to go to 21, because I think the age between 17
It's
and
a vulnerable
21,
age.
when the sport stops, when the youth club stops at 17, it gives them
You're in that
an
limbo age, isn't it? In limbo.
Exactly.
You're technically, Kira, you're 16, so she's sort of coming up to this limbo stage where what do? Do you want to go out with the kids, or do you
to
want
make it fun for the young adults,
Yes.
to make it fun for them, we can do borough-to-borough competitions. So the youth can compete with each other, and that's actually going to engage them and make it fun for them.
Yeah.
So
and I think it stops that postcode war as well. Perhaps, as
so
well.
they engage in a good
exactly
way.
about the post-code
Yes.
war.
Yeah.
Exactly.
a proper
to address
postcode war
war.
that's done better
Yeah.
rather than competition?
Dance.
rather
Music
than-
competitions,
Yeah.
dance, sport.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They can do it better in better ways, and it's our responsibility. We've let them down.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't personally. The
Yeah.
politicians have, But at the end of the day,
Yeah,
we're the ones
These
that need...
17-year-olds have had, 10 years of austerity. They've had all their services cut.
It's not fair. It's not
Yeah.
fair. When, I was young, obviously I had many more opportunities then, and so have we,
Yeah.
compared to what you have. So I apologise on behalf of us adults, but we want to see things change for you. We want to see you be the best that you can be. I also want to make sure they become entrepreneurs. Also,
I love
because
that,
they have great minds, they're very intelligent, but they need someone to believe in
encouragement.
them.
Yes, it needs someone to take that out, to turn that tap on and let the ideas flow.
Well, that's why the academies will have co-working space as well. Because, for example, I mentor a young group. They're aged from 16 to 18. They're from Dagenham, and some of them have come from bad backgrounds, but they've wanted to turn their lives around. They've started their own record label. But guess what? They've got four incredible artists, but they don't have money for a recording studio. That's why I want to make sure we have the facilities on site for free. Because just imagine what they will achieve.
Just a question, how would it be funded?
Through the
was just
budget.
gonna- yeah.
Absolutely. We've got a £19 billion budget which has been spent completely wrong.
What would be cut to bring in all the things that...
It's not about what's being cut. Okay, number one, I would be doing a full restructure on City Hall, getting rid of that dead weight.
Oh yes, yes.
I'm not for corruption, so I want to get rid of that dead weight staff that he has,
Yes.
which are earning 150,000 plus. Just last year he gave them £8 million in bonuses.
I have a question that somebody asked me. Will Farah strengthen the GLA in relation to holding the mayoral position to account and make their edits legally binding?
Every mayor should be accountable. Every mayor should be accountable. Every councillor should be accountable. Every council.
But they're not.
Exactly. One thing that I will be doing is introducing the first appeals department in City Hall. So residents and businesses of any borough can come and actually say, I have this complaint, my council's done this. Because right now the councils are not being held accountable,
No.
so they're doing what they
not
want.
at all.
Because they
are closed.
This
They are
is what I
closed
like
book.
to say.
Yeah.
They're a closed
Council have now become mafia-led councils.
Do we
It's
like
a
that?
fact.
Yes. It's a cabal, isn't it?
it's
It's a
exactly.
clique.
Exactly. And now there needs to be accountability. They're not going to like me, but at the end of the day, what they're doing to the people they should be protecting,
And listening to.
they're serving themselves. So they need to know there's accountability. You're not going to get away with it under my watch.
One more question, can I just, which we'd all like to know about, is the police. Are you going to reopen the stations that have been shut, increase numbers? If so,
Absolutely.
what's your plans?
I have taken the time to go to every single borough to visit every single police station, and I was shocked to see there's...
That didn't take you long then. They shut them all.
Well, unfortunately, I was shocked to see there's a lot of vulnerable boroughs like Dagenham, Ilford. They've been shut. There's no police stations in the boroughs that need them most. So absolutely, we need to reopen them. So what I will be doing is obviously working with the commissioner to work out, and the community, because I'm all about community, which ones really desperately need to be reopened. So some do have some sort of representation, so it's working out where they're needed. Maybe not all of them need to be reopened, but if 99% need to be reopened, we're going to reopen them. I will be hiring 8,500 more police, and 1,000 of them will be dedicated to hate crime, because that has gone up significantly. So we need to make sure people feel safe, women feel safe as well.
Is that on top of the 20,000? I think that's
That's something Boris is doing. That's the government.
But your police, your 8,000 would be
8,500.
funded by
It goes within
us.
the budget, absolutely.
rather than the Boris at 20,000 for what the
See,
whole of
what
the
you
UK.
have to understand, all the mayoral candidates, all the mayors, they think I've got 19 billion. That's it. I'm not thinking. I think outside the box. Fine, there's 19 billion there, but what can we do more to bring in more billions into our economy? Tech London, Silicon Valley in 2019, output was 275 billion. Now, can you imagine London being the #1 tech city in the world? How much more billions we can bring into our economy, London economy. Also, I'm all about bringing in back foreign investment. Brexit happened, we obviously have to move on. However, guess what? We've got the Commonwealth group of nations. Why are we not doing anything with them? That's a natural alliance. I've been speaking with companies across the Commonwealth. They're ready to come and put money into our city. So we're going to see a lot more money coming, a lot more jobs being created, and a lot more industry being protected.
What sort of companies are you talking about there? Tech?
It's mixed. Tech, yes. There's also financial services. Did you know the government didn't include financial services in the Brexit deal?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Exactly. So they're now doing a memorandum, apparently, last week they announced, but why didn't you include it? So we need to actually bring in that wealth back into our city so we can actually have more than a 19 billion and help improve the lives of Londoners.
And we need to open up the roads. So
Yes, we do.
Number one.
Yeah.
Number one,
And
absolutely.
I'm just
No
gonna-
LTNs.
I'm just going to ask, so a vested interest, my mother is a licensed black taxi driver who's not worked since last March. Now, I noticed when you arrived in a licensed
I always use a black cap.
How, if you was elected mayor, how would you support the black cab trade that has seen their living decimated for the benefit of a multinational corporation that pays hardly any tax in this country, i.e. Uber? We know there is a market forces, but the people who study the knowledge do it off their own back. They're not paid to do it. They're the most heaviest licensed, the most strictest vehicles to drive, and yet they are penalised and punished for providing the service that they provided to London for hundreds of years, and that's enshrined in an Act of Parliament. What would you do to help promote the black cab trade?
So our black cab trade, it's iconic, it's our history, it's been going on since the 1600s. What the current mayor has done is he's put a nail in their coffin. He's really made it difficult for them, and I speak to them on a daily basis. So absolutely, number one, let's remove these road restrictions. Where buses go, black cabs go. Again, we need to also make sure that we return the 15-year license back. However, I'm taking it a step further. If you have electric black cab, you're going to get a 20-year license, because if your car can pass the emissions, there's no reason why it shouldn't be on the road. I am giving higher grants for them to go electric. However, it's about also rewarding the people who have been doing it for so many years. Like you said, they put a minimum 4 years, some 3, into this. Some of them lose their families, get divorced, it's not paid for. So what I want to do is, if you've been in a trade for more than 40 years, I speak to drivers who've been doing it for more than 40 years, but they're driving a diesel because they say, at my age, let's be realistic, am I going to get a loan for £65,000?
No.
I'm retiring in 6 years. So what I want to do is reward them and give them, loan them an electric taxi for free through the fleet companies. And then it's a way of saying thank you for your service. When they retire, they can return it back to the fleet. But it's about empowering our black cabs again. They are the best in the world. They are the safest.
Yeah.
And
Partitioned.
absolutely. Why was the NHS contract given to Uber? I still don't understand what went on there. Maybe some corruption, who knows? But all I can say is, maybe. I'm being optimistic. All I can say is I'm not going to let that stuff happen. And we do have too many private hire, and that's because no one's restricted the licenses. Yes. So I think it's time to restrict the licenses.
It's about the money they get from each license.
Well, in 2019, we had around 80,000 private hire on our roads. We're talking about congestion and pollution. This is a good place to start.
One other question, Farah, regarding London buses. Yes. Now, we've seen all day long, we've seen buses running normal services up and down roads that are empty, because people are not, they're working from home. Yet we, as London taxpayers, are funding private companies that run these buses on behalf of London. They are private companies, they have shareholders. We are subsidising them to run a pseudo-normal service when there's nobody on these buses. There's nobody going into work in the City of London because people are working from home now. So how would you rejig buses? How do we know that we've got just the right, or do we just carry on as we are, funding shareholders through our taxpayers' money?
We need to do a full analysis. Hopefully we're coming out of lockdowns and we're going to start seeing people, but we need to firstly encourage the people back, and that's why I'm giving 100 days free travel on public transport as soon as I'm elected, so we can help businesses. Businesses need to see those people back into the shops, so we need to encourage people also to feel comfortable to get back onto public transport. And then I'm launching a 100-day independent review, and that will be of all the boroughs, all the LTNs, the public transport, everything, so we can then see our findings and see what the city needs going forward.
Great.
there was just one other question, tip of my tongue, and it's just gone.
I was just going to ask you just a little bit about your background,
Yes.
if that's okay.
Oh, absolutely. I'm here to talk.
And did you get government help along the way? Like, I mean, as in apprenticeships or?
No. Gosh, my first job I started in the City of London. I was a broker for Lloyd's of London. Then I became an underwriter for many years, working with Liberty International, working on various disciplines of insurance, writing global policies, billion-dollar policies all over the world. And then I've been on various boards for British Chambers, Royal Society of St George, and then I obviously went into my own businesses as well. So tech company, events company, and I have a global government forum I hold all over the world, across 5 continents, promoting international trade and business with different governments across the world. So I have a great background, and that's why it's given me a good insight. Most important, I volunteered within a community for over 20 years. That's why I'm at the grassroots with vulnerable communities, whether it's the homeless, whether it's the elderly, whether it's youth. I've really been there with them, and I understand what's going on, and that's why it was quite, I would say, it was a really humbling experience to write my manifesto, because I was really able to listen to people and being there with them and watching them go through these experiences. Like with homelessness, for example, I don't understand why we still have homelessness. We could eradicate it. We could eradicate it. And I plan to, for example, hygiene. Something very simple. We have a shower, we brush our teeth. Homeless people don't have access to that. They depend on charities, or in particular one particular church that has a shower facility, and they have to sign up and things. They don't have places to go wash their clothes. When COVID happened, I was volunteering every day. I still volunteer. I'm an NHS responder as well. And people got made homeless because of COVID. They lost their jobs, they worked in kitchens. And we don't have anywhere where they can actually just have basic hygiene. So I'm opening hygiene centres. If you don't have an address, you can't get medication. So if you suffer from diabetes or any sorts of conditions, you have to suffer. And then of course, when you get to NHS,
You end up in A&E, you clog up the A&E,
exactly, and
become a
they're
bed
spending
blocker.
more money. So these hygiene centres are there to actually provide assistance, provide medication, provide shower facilities, provide washing facilities, provide dentistry, something that we all take for granted. I want to make sure we do that, but I want to eradicate homelessness. And how I plan to do that is opening across the different boroughs, especially the ones in crisis, is eco-villages. Now, you've seen shipping containers.
Yeah.
You can now, exactly, for cheap, you can convert them to incredible self-contained apartments. So for any rough sleeper or anyone that finds themselves homeless, I want them to come to these self-contained apartments where we can actually help them get back into work, help them get back into society. That's something that we don't do. I know people who've been homeless. One of my, in my local community, Bob's been homeless for over 32 years. He's ex-army officer, he fought in Belfast, but he's been homeless. This is his way of life now. This is what he's chosen. But he, unfortunately, has to sit there begging. With my environmental policies, I want to actually empower the homelessness and give them jobs. So, for example, collect plastics or do gardening, landscaping, and get paid at the end of the day. And you know what? That's what they want to feel that they're part of society. They don't want to be begging.
Yeah.
So it's about really empowering even the homeless community to get there and be involved in community. Something for the environment. No matter what your age is, we're going to teach you environmental studies. So you'll get a certificate. Whether it's microbiology you want to learn about plants and sciences, we'll teach you for free. So then, instead of protesting, you can go out with your families, you're single couples, and go and start protecting the environment locally. So you're actually helping the environment. That's what we need to see more of, involving people into helping the environment.
Just got one more question from my own head. So you spoke about young people, encourage of young people. What about elderly people?
Absolutely.
Which are becoming now, it's going to be the major
Yes.
happening, because the baby boom now from the war is now turning into our OAPs now.
So something that's very interesting, I say about the elderly, is this freedom pass, number one. I still don't understand why there's time restrictions on a freedom pass. When the elderly,
They're not allowed to go out. Yeah.
they wake up earlier than any of us. They're out of the door. They're out of the door, and most of them, they run their errands between 6 and 9.
Some do. Not everyone.
Well, some. So I want to abolish this restrictions. I think elderly are intelligent enough to know when to go out, when not to go out. We shouldn't be telling them, you're not allowed out between this time, otherwise you have to pay. What about doctor's appointment, hospital's appointment? They tend to be quite early, so that's number one. Now, being an NHS responder volunteer really helped me. It made me understand there's people in our society, young and old, who are vulnerable and who haven't been getting help even before COVID. So there was a real crisis going on, which we didn't know about. So what I plan to do is make sure every borough has the same similar type as the NHS app, where local people can volunteer to help people in their neighbourhood. Obviously we'll do DBS checks, but we can pull together as a community and help people around us. And I want to see more of that, because I still like, for example, I help different people, whether it's with loneliness, going for a walk with them, medication, shopping. It's simple things, but I know there's so many volunteers within our community that are ready. If they've got an hour or two to spare, they're happy to go help
They just
someone.
need a sort of
There needs to be a
congregating
system.
to be
Exactly.
able to be sent. Okay.
Exactly.
Facilitation.
It's a great app. It will give you an alert that, okay, let's say I'm standing here, and it will see that someone needs help there, and it will just tell me, and then I can just phone them directly. How can I help you? And it would be nice if our councils actually manage that, because it will be community based within that borough.
And what, sorry, you go. No, you go.
Well, and with the freedom passes, you know, the time thing, what about the children's Zipcard? Because they were threatened to
Oh
be
God, no,
taken
that's not
away.
going. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, that's not fair. That's not acceptable.
That is what the working
It's tough.
class-
It's expensive enough living in London.
Expensive to
And
send your child to school.
our youth need to be able to travel across London, getting out of their boroughs, seeing what's out there for them. I don't want them isolated in one borough and think that's as big as their world gets. I want to encourage them to get out of their boroughs and really see what's going on around them. No way, we cannot do that.
Also, what do you think the biggest problem is right now to get independents elected? Is it getting people registered? Is it getting people, making them aware there's an election? Because, you know, it should have happened last year, so all the hype was last year. So Sadiq Khan had a free year, a caretaker year, which he's had, done all these major changes to our city without being elected upon it. His mandate ended 4 years ago. What do you think the problem is? What should we do to bang the drum and inform people of what's going on in May, 6th of May?
Well, the biggest problem is, and I'm going to say it, we all know it, it's media corruption. The media is owned by two particular political parties, and therefore they only tend to give coverage to those two parties, and we know who they are. So yes, that's the number one problem, but don't let that actually stir you, because it's the people on the ground that matter. So it is about getting out and talking to people and connecting with people. So I'm making the time and effort to go across all the boroughs, talking to people, talking to businesses, because they're not even bothered about Twitter or what's on TV. They're worried about the issues here and now. So obviously this is your borough. Get out, knock those doors, talk to people, because there's nothing more powerful than one-to-one engagement. And there's no media that's going to get you that.
Yeah.
We like that.
You need
Thank
to
you
get on
very
local news more, I think. Yeah.
Yes,
You need to get you on the local news.
I would
Do we have,
agree.
do we have any other questions for Farah as
I
a
was just
group
going to
of
say, the
people?
last thing I was going to ask you is what triggered you to stand for mayor?
Well, I had no intention of standing for mayor, because we were meant to have an election last year. And then obviously when Boris, you know, our Prime Minister, delayed the election in March. And in April, I just realised, oh my God, look at the Conservative candidate. Look at the other candidates. We're going to get Sadiq for another 4 years. And I said, can't let that happen. I'm going to stand. And that's it. It's as crazy as that. I just said I'm going to stand, because at the end of the day, I know I can take Sadiq down, and that's why I'm standing.
And
Thank you.